If you're a mastering engineer or you just master music on the side, at some point you're going to be sent over a clipped mix if you haven't been sent one over already. And that's something that you just have to deal with when you're dealing with amateur mix engineers. And that's not necessarily a bad thing, but if you get sent over a clipped mix, you're going to be working with something that's potentially distorted, less than ideal, and you're going to have to master that. So let me show you a virtually bulletproof way on how to fix a clipped mix. Now, all you really have to do is communicate with whoever mixed the song that you request a 32-bit floating point version of the mix. You know, you could keep the sample rate the same, take that export, normalize it in your DAW to 0 dB or even lower, depending on, you know, what you're comfortable with. And that's it. The mix has been fixed. No more clipping. Like, comment, subscribe. The video's over. But if you want to stick around and hear more about how this is actually possible, I will explain. So 32-bit floating point is a bit of a mysterious bit depth. This is what a lot of DAWs are actually working at internally, but a lot of people don't understand it much. And even I have a hard time kind of explaining it, but all you really need to know about it is 32-bit float, you know, has an outrageous dynamic range. And rather than how 16-bit and 24-bit go all the way up to 0 dB, 32-bit floating point technically goes up to 770 dB. Now, whatever is beyond 0 dB in your 32-bit export, it's still going to sound clipped in your DAW. However, all that information above 0 dB is still there. So all you have to do is normalize the audio to 0 dB, and all that information is back. No more clipping. Your audio file has essentially been saved. Now, if you record at 32-bit and your mic pre's or whatever source clips, you know, going into your audio face or whatever, you can't save that. You can't unclip that. We're just strictly talking about, you know, digital clipping within your DAW. All right, so we're in iZotope RX. We're looking at a mix of mine that I intentionally clipped just for this video. I clipped it really bad. You should never be in a scenario this bad, but just to show you how powerful this is, if you can simply get a 32-bit float export of your clipped mix, like, this is really clipped. Like, you can see at the bottom down here, that's really bad. And all we're gonna do is normalize it to, I do minus 0.01 dB, just, you know, just to be safe. We're gonna click render and all of that information is back. We are no longer clipped. It's that easy. Now in your DAW, when you normalize it, like for me, it'll just show the audio file like lower in volume, the waveform, but it'll show all the chopped peaks. But you can hear, especially if the clipping's bad, that all the clipping is gone. The visual just doesn't update, at least in my DAW, so keep that in mind. Now there are other ways to fix a clipped mix, but they're gonna be less than ideal. You could use something like the D-Clipper module in iZotope RX. That's not really great for mixes in my opinion. That's really good for kind of recovering clipped audio sources, whether that be vocals, bass guitar, whatever. And it's not gonna give you the absolute best results. Still a viable option if you, for whatever reason, can't get a 32-bit float export, but again, it's not going to be ideal. You can also just tell the mix engineer to, you know, lower the volume of the mix until it's not clipping anymore, but that can be a bit confusing for newer mix engineers. And even if you highlight everything and, you know, just drag the fader down and lowering everything at the same time, I'm not sure why, but that does not transition a one-to-one lowering of everything. Your mix was going to sound different. It sometimes screws up your mix. So this is why I think just getting a 32-bit floating point export of the mix and normalizing it is going to be the best and pretty much bulletproof way to fixing any clipped mix. Now, I hope you found this helpful because recently I've dealt with a clipped mix and there's not a lot of good info on 32-bit floating point. A lot of confusion, so hopefully I distilled it into a digestible and understanding way. If you got any questions or comments, feedback, please leave them down below. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you in the next video.